Hey everyone, this is the COBI SU-100 World War II Soviet tank destroyer. To be very clear for folks not familiar with it, this was made by COBI. COBI is the brand name. I have reviewed a number of COBI things on this channel in the past. They're based in Poland and they make some really cool stuff with some really interesting pieces. I personally bought this on Amazon for $65 US. As of the time of the recording of this video, it's cheaper than that, but that's its original basic suggested retail price, and it comes with 655 pieces with no stickers whatsoever. You get one figure there. This figure is kind of ridiculous. We'll come back to that. It also has this little plaque here, which is just, well, it's just that. It tells you what it is. It's an SU-100 for, when you set up your own little museum or something. Very quickly, so that we can move past this point, I want to just bring on into frame one other COBI model that I previously reviewed on this channel, which is, zoom the other way. There we go. Very relevant here because this is a T-34, and this model in real life, the real thing, was based off the carriage of this. This, however, is built to a slightly larger scale, which is interesting. Makes them not 100% compatible when you put them into a scene, but it was just kind of nice to actually have that compatibility or have the same basis for the two in person. Kind of cool to me. I personally bought this one in particular because I like turretless tank destroyers. See, this has the gun. It's a 100mm gun on this one. The original version of this was the SU-85, which had an 85mm gun on it. This was the improved version. So this goes up and down. I believe it had just a tiny bit of left to right adjustments within just a small number of degrees. It was typical for this style of thing. And it's used as was used as a tank destroyer, and some countries actually still have these operational to this day. They've even been used in fields of battle in recent years, surprisingly. Pretty tough thing, I suppose. Again, no stickers on this, so everything that you see that looks like a decoration is done with a print, and the prints are pretty decent. The overall build experience for this was not amazing. Its design is not amazing. I'd say how it goes together. Most COBI tanks, from my experience at least, have a very straightforward initial build. Lots of stacking of plates, and you get some axles that stick off the side and all, and you basically just do studs on top of studs on top of studs, very straightforward stuff until you start getting into some of the finer details. Now, COBI has a vast library of interesting pieces, very useful pieces that I personally am not particularly used to in their shape and size and variability. They have so many different styles of slopes and wedge plates, and more importantly, small pieces, really small pieces that change you from stud to stud within the space of a single plate, or from anti-stud to anti-stud within the space of a single plate. So a lot of stuff for changing direction in not the standard ways that I'm personally used to as someone who's primarily a Lego fan. They have a lot of pieces that are way more useful than parts that Lego has, and this allows you to do things that are cool in very small spaces and really enhances the building experience for someone like me who is coming a little bit more from the outside. They think outside of the box more. They are a lot more willing to try different things, and I really appreciate that. It makes things interesting, and if I were to ever get into making custom builds using COBI parts, it would be a lot of fun. I know that from my experience with Mega Constructs stuff and how they have some super interesting and super useful parts. COBI has even more. As far as functionality here, you already saw that the not turret, the gun is able to go up and down. This hatch opens, but there's nothing to be seen there. There's nothing to really do there. You've got a hatch up here that can also be popped open. It's half-seas, so you can put a figure into that spot. And then the commander's cupola over here also has its own hatch. It's supposed to just hinge forward. They've got these in just halves, and I think that's perfectly fine. Gives you a good look. Maybe there's a little bit that would show up from the other side, but this allows you to stand a figure in there as well. The tracks move really well. I mean, this is a very slippery surface that I have here, a very hard surface that typically does not grant traction to things, just generally speaking, but this is able to move back and forth with great ease. So that's nice to see. And then right here, I can open the engine compartment, and this is a shame. It's a shame because there's a lot of detail in there in that engine compartment that you're not able to immediately appreciate. You know, you've got this scaled down little access compartment from the top, but that's actually built up decently well inside of there. Thankfully though, the designer or designers thought of that and gave us a secondary access just for us huge figures. I'm gonna tear a bunch of stuff off fairly easily as a sub-assembly here. So all this comes off for us, not for, you know, in-universe accuracy. And there we go. Okay, that is much better. Much, much better. They even have some prints for the cylinder heads that are included there. So that's pretty nice. Interestingly, those came partially assembled to make sure that you would get them in the matched pairs. So you can see right there at the edge, like I think they actually placed these two dark orange parts onto a plate before they did the pad printing to make sure that the alignments were correct. That is nice. I think that more companies can learn from that. Even though they're separate pieces, they line up perfectly because they did a little extra work in advance. And I liked the piping in here and the pieces used for that. There's a little bit more back there, but this is most of it. It's pretty good like that. And here from the top, you can see some other prints as well. They actually include 2 sets of prints for the sake of decoration in this. I've used the Polish regiment set here. So I've got one insignia over there and one insignia here. Set also comes with a pair of Red Army versions. So if you want to display those, you just swap them out. These are both included, and you just choose whichever you want. It's much nicer to have alternate printed pieces, I think, than alternate stickers, because this way you can go back and forth all you want, as opposed to if they just included 2 sets of stickers, you could choose once, and then after that you'd have to think about peeling stickers off, and then how do you preserve them. So I think this is overall a nicer, better choice. And of course, if you were to use these, they would go much better with this guy here with his ridiculous giant red flag that's not the most I don't know. Not the most serious, right? Like COBI tanks, COBI military stuff, much of it is kind of serious stuff. Like it's designed to look pretty accurate. There are some inaccuracies here before I look at this unfortunate thing up closer. Proportion-wise, a lot of this is pretty good, but I think the superstructure should have been a little bit more flat. I think that either this section needed to be longer, and then all this needed to be longer as well, or this section needed to be just slightly less tall. But I understand, they've got the studs on the side construction going on here. But if they took like a plate or 2 of height off of this, it would have been pretty perfect. And then the wheels, the road wheels, typically should have, from what I've seen from pictures, it's more accurate, more commonly to have a solid style rather than these very, very holy ones that have all the gaps in them and everything. It's not the worst thing, but just a couple things that stand out a little bit. Otherwise, I think that it is presented pretty well for a model with this level of detail, this number of pieces. COBI's figures are probably the worst things that they do by a long shot. They're typically just not good. Surprisingly, this one here is not the worst. This may be the best that I personally have had my hands on to date. The most believable, most serious, least creepy looking in the face. Like this is passable. It's acceptable. I mean, it's not the greatest design. It's definitely not super accurate or anything. I mean, it's derived from a toy base, not a collector's model base for their figures. But yeah, for what it is, I think it's pretty good. The weapon, probably not the most appropriate thing, although what do I know? For a tank crew, that's a sniper rifle, I believe the Mosin or Mosin, forgive me for not knowing the pronunciation, but they do really good minifig weapon, infantry weapon replicas, I think. So they've got some nice molds for those, very accurate. And if you're not familiar with these figures, they've got the ability to articulate at the shoulder, the hands rotate, the heads rotate, The legs move independently, and they also have waist articulation, which is revolutionary. Something never before seen. No, but yeah, they're not the greatest things, but this one, as they go, isn't that bad. Again, I spent $65 for this on Amazon at its regular retail price, which feels steep for 655 pieces from COBI in particular. Typically, they tend to be a value brand, relatively speaking. However, in North America, they don't move huge numbers, so they're not able to get good volume pricing over here much of the time. By comparison, from what I've heard from people in Eastern Europe, for example, they're so much cheaper than Lego, for example. Like so much cheaper. Lego is considered, in many communities to be like the luxury toy, whereas COBI is available to anybody. So yeah, the pricing that I was able to get for this, that we are able to get for this in North America, at least through that source, which is the best one, the most reliable for me, is not particularly great. That said, I do like what I got. I feel like I'm very happy with the build experience. I'm happy with it as a display model. Quality is definitely good, and in spite of what I feel is a slightly inflated price, I would buy it again, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, having been through the experience of building it and having seen how large and or small it is in person. Really wish that it was in perfect scale with the T-34 model from the same company, though. That would have been just icing on the cake. It's close, but not right there. Anyway, that's my look at this one. I enjoyed it. Hope that you enjoyed this, or at least got some value out of this video. You can check out more COBI reviews that I've done from anywhere on YouTube by just searching for Jangbricks COBI, or look for an appropriate playlist from me on my channel, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.